2021 was a year of recovery, yet once again marked by the COVID-19 pandemic. The virus came in waves and continued to disrupt many sectors, despite the arrival of vaccines. New variants caused instability and affected the economy, jobs, schools, and tested the limits of our health services. Despite this, and like in 2020, technology and telecommunications companies played a strategic role in helping society move forward in this new global context. Connectivity is as essential as ever. Today, I am visiting Cellnex's new headquarters in Barcelona, where I have the pleasure of meeting with Bertrand Kan, Chairman of Cellnex, and the Chief Executive, Tobias Martinez. Hi, nice to see you.
Morning.
Nice to see you.
Welcome. Well, 2021 has been yet another busy year for Cellnex. You managed to grow in new markets like Poland and consolidate your position in France, Netherlands, Portugal, and Ireland. And Cellnex now operates in 12 countries. Mr. Kan, you joined the board in January of 2021. What has been the highlight of the year for you?
I actually joined the board 7 years ago, but I became chairman in the beginning of last year. There were quite a few highlights. The one I would pick would be the rights issue. It was fantastic to see the vote of confidence that we received from our shareholders when they participated in our rights issue. 2021 has been a year of two halves. The first half was very busy with some transactions. The second half was more about integrating what we've been acquiring. Overall, I'm incredibly pleased with how much the organization has evolved during 2021. The teams, the people, procedures, the company, it's been incredible.
Mr. Martinez, around this time last year, you mentioned one of your objectives was to integrate past acquisitions, and you've been running 9 integration projects. And your growth has also exceeded your projections for 2021. Do you consider this mission accomplished?
Well, yes, as the chairman said earlier, we had the second half of the year with a very strong activity about integration, but also in 4 new countries like Austria, Denmark, Sweden, and Poland. So with a lot of activity in the first half about the M&A, we were succeeding entering in new countries. In Poland, we did 2 transactions. One, our third transaction in France, having 3 anchor tenants, then moving forward to Netherlands. And we are exceeding our expectations in the middle of the pandemic, which is not easy. And in terms of revenues, EBITDA, recurrent leverage, free cash flow as well, we are growing in the region of 50%, which is unbelievable. But also thanks to the impact of the huge transactions we did at the end of 2020, which was about Hutchinson Group. So all in all, has been 2021 a fantastic year.
And what was it like to welcome new colleagues in the midst of the pandemic with various waves and restrictions across these geographies?
Yeah, not easy, because with a lot of transactions, thanks to our communication team, we were connecting with our colleagues in those new countries. And currently we are re-engaging the face-to-face meetings, which is very helpful. So it's about flexibility and how this company is able to adapt in these new scenarios. And we are growing very much. So all in all, again, very challenging, but we are succeeding and we are extremely happy.
Let's talk about M&A, which is something you've been very active in, as you pointed out, Mr. Kan. Last year, you invested 9 billion euros, mostly at the beginning of the first half of the year, and you had a very successful rights issue. But you still have some firepower left in your arsenal. Do you see a return to large-scale M&A in 2022?
Well, Fiona, as you well know, M&A is unpredictable. Obviously, we've built a business with quite a few transactions in the past few years. We expect that there may be more to come. We will see how the year evolves. We're in a very good position. We have liquidity. We also have reached critical mass in our business, so we have the flexibility to choose and to focus on what the right transactions are for us.
Would you consider any further rights issues if the need arose?
We've done 4 rights issues in the past 2.5 years, which is it's been great to see how our shareholders have supported us throughout this journey. If we have good projects to propose to our shareholders that require further funding, we will go and ask them. But at this point, there's nothing on the horizon.
Okay. Mr. Martinez, just following on from that, because of M&A and the whole sector has seen a lot of changes in the last few years, and we've seen a lot of telecom operators that are either IPOing or carving out their own tower units. Where do you see the sector evolving this year?
We are seeing a clear consolidation in the tower sector. Today, for us, the first priority is to consolidate our market presence in the 12 countries where we are today. We are seeing additional opportunities in this regard. We are seeing also some telecom operators IPOing or selling a minority stake of their own tower cos, which is the best confirmation that the model is here to stay. So no doubt that carving out the passive infrastructure creates value. Therefore, we remain focused on Europe, which is our region, and we do expect to execute additional transactions, not just acquiring towers from our existing customers, is also improving the identification and building new infrastructures in order to provide 5G services, which is clearly a tailwind for us.
And as a result of all this activity in the market, we've seen some European regulators become concerned about the concentration of tower players in any given market. As we've seen with Cellnex's proposed transaction in the UK with the passive infrastructure of CK Hutchinson. How big of a risk is this for you?
Well, Cellnex, by definition, is a pro-competitive company. We are a pro-market company because we are here to share, to improve the sharing among the different telecom operators. So by definition, we are a pro-market company. Second, it's Cellnex, it's about an open and neutral and independent company, which matters a lot. It's not just about sharing. It's sharing from a neutral role, which is very important. So I think we are leveraging a lot on those pillars in order to explain better the regulators that Cellnex is, I think, the best company in order to open the market. Obviously, when we are reaching certain degree of market share, we have to obtain the clearance from antitrust regulators. But I think this is a moving picture. I mean, in the sense that regulators are looking at the evolution of this market. This is a very new market in Europe. This is not the same in US, but in Europe we are at the very beginning. So our company is just 6.5 years old, which is nothing. So we are devoted to explain better our role in the market and playing this role according with the evolution also of the technology in the market.
Would you consider expanding beyond Europe?
We are not considering, being very specific on your question. I think, and we share in the company, means in the board, when we are talking about the strategy, it's very important to define what do you want to do and what do you not want to do. And today our focus still remains in Europe because 5G, again, is the trigger of a new wave of densification, of a new type of infrastructures, because 5G is not just about pure macro towers, it's about small cells, it's about optical fiber, it's about edge computing. So the topology of the network, it's moving from 4G to 5G. And 5G is not just an evolution of 4G, it's a new one. It's a new topology, it's a new kind of services. It's about artificial intelligence, it's about robotics, it's about augmented reality. In this regard, we do believe that looking at 2030, still a lot of room for growth in Europe. And we are quantifying this potential market around of 200,000 existing and new infrastructures in Europe.
I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because you've been known for managing passive towers, but of course now you're starting to diversify into other areas, like the modernization of the and connectivity of the rail corridors in the European Union and Network Rail in the UK, and obviously 5G brings also a lot of opportunities. You're in France. You're already doing some managing fiber assets and also active equipment in Poland. What is your ambition in this space?
Well, we do not like to use the word diversification. We do prefer to talk about the ability of the company in order to work with our customers and to work according with the evolution of the technology. So the technology is moving from a pure passive infrastructure because 3G and 4G was about the interconnectivity of people. And the interconnectivity of people is one of the major goals achieved by 4G technology. But if everyone is connected, already connected, why we should ask for 5G? Because 5G is not just about people, it's about industry, it's about objects. It means that we have to interconnect objects, and this is about trillions of objects moving around the world, with edge computing, with optical fiber, because latency is a must in the industry if we want to develop robotics. And Europe, in a way, is competing with the east of the world and the west of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we are the best partners of our customers. We are the best partners for the public administration as well. And now we are seeing that transport, just for instance, it's a very attractive segment for the connectivity. People is asking for the connectivity when you are commuting every day in the train. So it's not just about coverage in terms of population, it's also coverage in specific hotspots.
Great. Mr. Kan, in 2021, Cellnex had another positive year in the stock market, and clearly the share price has grown exponentially since the IPO. How do you think about the share price?
We had a very good year in 2021. Obviously, the market it fluctuates because of many different factors, not all of which are under our control. We're very focused on ensuring that we maximize growth and predictability of our cash flows. That's our job, and we trust that the market will follow and will value those efforts for what they're worth. So we're very positive about the future. We have a lot of growth to look forward to, and we hope that translates in positive share price performance going forward.
Shareholders are, of course, interested in returns, but they're also interested in investing in good corporate citizens, and ESG considerations, environmental social governance, are increasingly important. Here, Cellnex has some good credentials. You're in the top 5 in terms of lowest risk in the sector with Sustainalytics, and you managed to consolidate your spot on the A list of the CDP, which is, of course, the nonprofit that collects climate data and recognizes commitment to environment and sustainability. Mr. Kan, what are your highlights of the ESG strategy in 2021?
I'm very happy you asked the question. ESG is at the heart of the business and culture of Cellnex. It starts at the board and goes all the way down in the organization. Our first corporate social responsibility plan finished in 2020, and we started our second ESG plan, 5-year plan, in 2021. We have 92 separate targets across the 3 sectors. In terms of the E, we are lucky, we are fortunate as a corporate that we have relatively low carbon intensity of our business. Having said that, we have very clear targets to bring that down to net zero. In terms of the social side of things, we are fully committed to implementing the principles of EDI throughout the organization. Hiring practices, employee relations, equity, diversity, and inclusion are of the utmost importance. In terms of governance, I think our board is a pretty good example of how we think about the business. 8 of the 11 directors are independent, 5 of the 11 are female, and I think we have 7 nationalities in the board. So we try to be diverse also in our board itself. Generally, ESG is also important in the way we incentivize the management. Their compensation is linked to performance in terms of ESG. I think our greatest success in terms of ESG could be not to have to talk about it anymore in a few years' time, when it's just part and parcel of everyday business, and that's that. And we are well on track to achieve that.
And you also launched a foundation this year that promotes connectivity amongst vulnerable populations. Mr. Martinez, where do you see Cellnex's efforts in ESG this year, in 2022?
Well, this is our new member of the family. It's a very young member, but very active. Just to tell you that the main activity of the foundation is devoted to reduce the digital divide. Mm-hmm. And why? Because we do believe that telecommunications is not just about interconnectivity. It's about opportunities in life. It's about cohesion. It's about education. It's about business activity. But if we want really to get a better society, communications matters a lot. Just look at the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine the corona crisis without connectivity? Mm. I can imagine. No. I can imagine. But having said that, we have 2 specific programs. One is about young people. We call Young Challenge, which is working in order to avoid the social exclusion. Mm-hmm. We are also mentoring young people in order to work with them and to show that telecommunications could be a very attractive profession in life. This is, we have started in Spain, just in Spain, but thanks to the foundation, we are starting working in Italy, in France, in Portugal. And we are also launching a new program devoted in order to cooperate with some technology startups with social objectives as well. So the foundation, it's starting, but with a clear objective in order to help people. Thanks to the connectivity, thanks to the infrastructure and to avoid social discrimination in a way.
Sounds very ambitious. That's great. I mean, if we can turn to the broader economic environment for a moment, 2021 was a year of recovery, but then just when we thought the pandemic was petering out, we had the new wave, Omicron, at the end of last year, which brought a lot of disruption. We've had economists revising down GDP projections, but at the same time, we have rising inflation, which has led some central banks to begin planning or preparing for a rate hike like the Fed. And the question is how, we've seen rising yields. How does this affect your debt structure?
Well, obviously we are an asset company with very long-term contracts, which allows us to react quite well to inflation within limits. Our debt structure, we've always been trying to maximize the use of our debt within our investment grade rating, and we've been very lucky to profit from relatively low rates for the past few years. We've been able to lock in fairly long maturities, so we are not affected by interest rate rises for quite a few years to come. In due course, it'll be inevitable. If the markets continue as they are, that interest rates will go up, and we will raise money at slightly higher rates. But we're in very good shape because the contracts that we have allow us to compensate for inflation.
So it sounds like
just maybe to complement the answer of the chairman, we have 88% of our debt is a fixed rate. So we do believe that we are well protected in the next coming 6 or 7 years from now.
Okay, so it sounds like you're not too worried about it yet. Perhaps we can finish by looking ahead to 2022. We've been obviously alluding to it in this conversation, but what do you think the big themes are for the sector this year and for Cellnex in particular? Mr. Kan, maybe you can start and Mr. Martinez might complement it.
No, sure. As I mentioned before, over the past few years, we've done quite a few transactions and reached critical mass. And this is important. We're a large operator, and we seek to reinforce our position as the largest independent telecoms infrastructure provider in Europe. We will continue to work on that project in the medium and long term. As Tobias already mentioned, we think there's a lot more potential in the rationalization and growth of the sector, and we think we can profit from that.
Oh, yes, we are, as I said earlier, devoted to integration, which matters a lot. Running 9 integration projects in parallel, it's very challenging, but always being proactive and selective. Both are keywords, proactive and selective. When we look at growth opportunities, it means majority, it means core business, it means Europe, it means telecom infrastructure, and looking at also the anchor tenant, the customer at the end. So those are our keywords for 2022 onwards.
Great. Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for this review of 2021 and a window into your strategy in 2022.
Thank you very much.